Greetings everybody and welcome back to another guide here with Renza Lightning. Here today I'm going to be going through the Tertius Terminus Est mechanic. That's a bit of a tongue twister if you're not familiar with Latin. Then again, I'm not familiar with Latin anyway myself, but anyway. Yes, this is a mechanic that I've seen a lot of people get hit by, and a lot of people have died to it as well, and here today hoping to help you avoid that. So, first thing to make a note of is that, of course, we have these AoEs all over the place. If you've been into Emerald Weapon before, then no doubt you'll be familiar with these. But here today, hopefully we will get you through potentially every single possibility, or at least give you the tools to proceed through it. So, let's see what we got. In the first case, we have these nicely symmetrical squares here. Now, in this particular case, we have this one here in the corner. This one was the first one that dropped. So this one is going to blow up first, and that's going to be our safe spot. That's one thing to always keep in mind. Wherever the first one drops, that's where you're going to want to go. And the third one should always be directly next to it. That's going to be your initial safe spot. That's going to be your gathering spot. Okay, so the way that I do this is I find the square here in the corner, and what I do is I imagine a line going from here down to the other corner. That's going to give me a nice little boundary, if you like. If I'm stood roughly on a line going this way, and I don't cross this line, I'm going to be safe. When this AoE goes off, it's actually not going to go on the lines, it's going to expand a little bit. And that AoE is actually going to go to roughly about halfway along this distance here. So I'm going to position myself just slightly inside this quarter of the square. So if I was to let it play, you can see me in position there. Some other people are starting to come up. Oops. Just about to see that. Let me zoom back a little bit so we can get the actual picture quite nicely. Nope, doesn't want to pause for me. Come on. Modern technology, eh? Can't do anything with it. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Now, it's a bit difficult to see, but if you look carefully, you can see this line coming from the sword here. That gives you an idea of how wide this AoE goes, and that goes for every line that goes there. But if you look carefully, you can kind of see that this portion of this end point of the AoE here kind of goes halfway into this little square that's been formed here. So if you're in this quadrant, you're going to be safe from the first blast. And the good thing is you've got plenty of time to get from here over to this safe spot now, because this one here, that was the last one, so he's going to blow up last. So do be careful, because I sometimes get hit by this myself even when I'm in farm parties. Is the second one. The second one blows up here. So be sure to avoid that if you can. But once you've got into this corner, you're then safe, and then you just carry on. So that's the first case. You've got the corner where it's a plus shape, and you've got to get away from that if you can. The next type, I'm going to go back to the start here. It's the same order, except instead of being a plus shape on the corner, this one's actually going to be a cross shape. So you can see there the first one's appeared here, second one's appeared here, and third one's appeared here. And when this one comes down, you can see here it's now formed a cross shape. And the ones in the middle form a plus shape. That will always happen. It's going to be always either one of those two in the corners if it's the outside landing first. In this case, because we have the cross, to find the safe spots, what I do is I imagine a line coming from where this sword is, straight down to, if you imagine this big triangle here that's been formed, if you want to stand roughly in the center of this edge. Because what's going to happen is when this AoE goes off, there's going to be a little tiny triangle formed just inside it. So if you stand just inside this triangle, underneath the apex, you're going to prepare yourself quite nicely for this. So you can see I'm just inside the AoE there, and there's the tiny triangle that's going to be safe. And once again, because this is the last one, I can just move forward. And there we're safe. Unfortunately, a lot of people died to that, so... But their sacrifice will not be in vain, because here I am making this video. Wait. The next one I'm going to go to is I'm going to go to Sidescape. Now, Sidescape is a bit further on in the fight. The boss will go into Gaius form, and then when we come back from Gaius form, he's going to use Tertius again, but he's going to be using it with a split, like he did in the first phase. And to deal with that, what we need to do is we need to think about what's going to happen with Sidescape. The first thing that happens with Sidescape is he does this AoE on one side, so we all just avoid that. The next thing that happens with Sidescape is this red AoE appears on the ground. Now when the boss uses Sidescape, this is going to be a knockback. So we have two options. Either mitigate it with knockback immunity, or use it to our advantage. I tend to use it to my advantage. I let myself get knocked away. And here's how I use it. First ones will always be in the middle. Second ones will be in a corner. Third one will be in a corner. Look for the third one. That's going to be your safe spot to begin with. So I can see here, those swords are coming down. That's where I want to be knocked to. So I need to line up so that I'm going to be knocked into that corner by this AoE. So I stand quite close to it. And before I even start moving, look carefully. Look at this corner. Every time that I've done this, this is always the square shape. So the good thing about this is that when you get knocked away, you'll just land perfectly in the safe spot. This will always be a plus in the middle as well, which is quite nice. So I'm lined up, knocked away, and I'm right here. This is the perfect position because I'm now in this little quadrant, just before the AoEs blow up. And then as soon as they blow up, I just move back in. Just be careful to not run in too soon, otherwise you get hit by the second, and then you avoid the third one. And that's how you deal with that one. If on the other hand you don't get Sidescape, you get Expire, which is where instead of having the boss's top half, you have the boss's lower half. We end up with this situation here. The first thing that's happened has, when the boss goes into this form, he uses Expire. You have to move away from him because he's going to do a ground AoE close range. But once that's happened, there's going to be this red AoE here. Now this red AoE is just another little gimmick on top of what we've done already. All that's going to happen is he's just going to expand. But once he's expanded and done his thing, it's like he's never even there, because now we're back at this situation. As we did in the first instance, I'm going to line myself up so that I'm still on this side of the diagonal. Wait for the first to blow up and then just move out. There we go. That's pretty much all of them, except there is one more. The last one is when you get the first one being on the outside and the safe spot then being in the middle. So let me just open this up quickly. And I want to go to 640, where are we? Is this the time? Okay, so Tertius coming up now. I think I called it Terminus, it should be Tertius, yeah. So there we go, the first ones are in the middle. Second one's in those corners, and the third one's in these corners. This one's a bit weird because it's the opposite corners that happen at the same time there, so we have to be a bit more careful. Once they've come down, we can see we have this cross coming in the middle. Now this is the first one, so that's going to be where the safe spot is. Second one's come down, and the last one's come down. We're just going to ignore this because that's going to be the last one. But we have this triangle once again. So this triangle we're going to treat exactly the same way. Now in this case I was actually a bit further, I was a bit more further back because I was kind of jumping around saying, you know, to some of these people around here, this is where you need to be. These guys are over here, they should be fine as they are. And there's the AoE going off, and then we just come back in. And there you go. That is Tertius Terminus Est. If you remember those little tricks there with the triangles and the squares, you'll be able to get through any particular pattern that the boss throws at you. So there you go, folks. That's Tertius Terminus Est. If you have any requests for any other specific mechanics that you would like a guide to, please let me know in the comments, and I will make that video for you guys, and hopefully get you through Emerald a bit smoother. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you later, folks. This is Renzo Lightning, signing off.